Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me again on my electrified journey around Europe. Yes, it is afternoon again, but that is not to say that I slept in. I really like Leinstrand camping, and so I spent the first half of the day yapping away, flying the drone, and receiving a scary spider dashpad. Selina, the owner of the campground, asked me whether I already have a dashpad, and when I categorically declined, her response was, "Now you have one." Apparently, the spider that Selina crafted herself was going to dust the car's dash while I was driving, and considering the windy roads, I can believe that. The spider has, of course, also a name. I named her after her creator, Selina. There are no other similarities between the two of them other than perhaps that both of them seem to like dusting. Just in case you wondered, this is again a compound episode, this time covering 5 days, 23 to 27, of driving through beautiful scenery on my way to Kristiansund and the famous Atlantic Road. I would have liked to spend another day or two at Leinstrand camping and catch up on my video backlog, but weather for the next days was not promising, yet the drive along the coast there is magnificent. Unselfish and generous as I am, I figured that I must show you. It had nothing to do with me being tired of driving in the rain, nothing at all, and neither with the prospect of having to babysit while the parents were working in the campground. Absolutely not. Just being generous, I have you know. Selina recommended that I turn off the 17 and drive around the outside of the island before taking a ferry that would bring me back to the main highway. And so I did. It was indeed a really pretty drive with next to no traffic. Ferry is the word of the day, as I ended up taking 3 of them on the first day, another 3 on the second, and 2 more on the third day. I hadn't planned it that way, but it just materialized. The first of them, from Brønnøysund to Sund, I had to wait 2 hours for, and then almost missed getting on it. Not just that, I continued working while on the ferry and, you guessed it, almost missed getting off it too. I need to remember that the short distance ferries have a very short window at each pier, and you either move or you don't. The third ferry of day 23, from Jektvik to Kilbokham, also marked the end of Everlasting Sun, well, something like that. This passage traverses the Arctic Circle and reintroduced me to the concept of night. Of course, this doesn't work like a light switch, but nights rather get darker the farther south one moves from the Arctic Circle. Surprisingly, I didn't really struggle with the bright nights. Midnight sun led to me working until midnight without realizing it, and consequently, I slept long in the morning. Only once did I park the car wrong, as in east-west. The result was when, turning to face north, the sun would shine straight into my face. Needless to say that I slept most of the night on the other side. Scenery during these days was exceptional, and I had weather to boot. Still quite some clouds, but they made the photos look great and more exciting. What about charging, you ask? Not today, my friends. While I ended up clocking quite a few kilometers, no need to charge the first day, even though I spent 3% of the state of charge of the battery charging my equipment while waiting for the first ferry. In total, I did 3 charging stops over these 5 days, where the first one was more to make sure I got to the second. So I stopped at Leland after 342 kilometers at a Copley AC charger to add 11 kilowatt hours to get the battery from 23 to 37% before moving to what was supposed to be the charging stop for the night. When I found the charging station another 89 kilometers down the road in Brønnøysund, again a Copley AC, I felt like I had to change my plans. They were right in front of a hospital. It was very quiet, but not a suitable place for the night because residential area and no public toilets. Anyway, I charged 67 kilowatt hours to bring the battery from 18 to 100% while I slept a few hours in the car. Once it had finished, I departed, only to find myself driving through troves of people who attended some open-air party in the middle of the town. I was intrigued initially, but that changed when I saw a girl throwing up on the street, seemingly a booze party for the younger generation. It was past midnight, so I tried to just find a parking spot next to the road and succeeded after 44 kilometers near Sømna. After the previous night at a car park near Stockvågen, this was the second day without a shower. I definitely needed a campground the following day. And I found it after another day of driving through spectacular scenery when I ended day 25 in Holmset camping in Nomdalsseid after 168 kilometers. This is a very good place to stop if you like fishing, and the host has a wicked sense of humor. I stopped early that day to do some laundry, which you will often find difficult because occupied when arriving later in the afternoon. On day 26, the drive was less exciting as I had to get back to the main road. I passed Trondheim, which looked much bigger than I remembered and very busy. Just south of Trondheim is another Ionity charging station in Leinstrand and 264 kilometers from Holmset campground. I plugged in for 57 kilowatt hours that brought the battery from 21 to 92% and then drove another 5 kilometers to Øysand camping, which is a really nicely located campground with its own beach. It could have been another good place to spend more than one night, but weather was still a bit twitchy and so was I, hence I continued the next day. Day 27 finally took me to Kristiansund and the Atlantic Road, which is part of the national tourist route. It is an 8-kilometer stretch of Highway 64 that takes you across 8 bridges that connect small islands and is a highlight for many Norway travelers. You may have seen images of especially the twisting Stursesundet Bridge. Now you know where to find it. More often than not, it's difficult to get good pictures without hundreds of cars and people around. This time I was kind of lucky. Don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against people, but GDPR and all. Regardless, here are some pictures from this fantastic place. Somehow time passed fast that day and I found myself looking for a place to sleep quite late. As I wanted to charge the car the next day, I drove towards what I thought to be the next charging station, close to Ålesund. I'm not sure how I could miss it, but the better choice would have been the Ionity station in Åndalsnes, as I was almost there anyway. So I ended up taking an 11:30 p.m. ferry from Molde to get to a car park near Ørskog, 80 kilometers from the spectacular bridges. And this marks the end of these 5 days of beautiful scenery and the amazing Atlantic Road. As always, let's have a quick look at map and driving data. I left Leinstrand camping at 12:15 p.m. to drive 212 kilometers along beautiful coastal roads and take 3 ferries to spend the night at a roadside car park near Stokvågen. On day 24, I did a total of 420 kilometers, stopping at Lerfjord after 130 kilometers to charge 11 kilowatt hours and bring the battery from 23 to 37%. I then continued for another 89 kilometers to Brønnøysund, where I slept a few hours while charging the battery from 18 to 100% by injecting 67 kilowatt hours before stopping at yet another roadside car park after 44 kilometers to spend the night. Day 25 was a short drive of 168 kilometers to Namdalseid to do some laundry and spend the night at Holmset camping. Day 26 took me first to the Ionity Leinstrand charging station south of Trondheim, where I added 57 kilowatt hours to charge the battery from 21 to 92% before finding a place for the night another 5 kilometers down the road at Øysand camping. On day 27, after 226 kilometers, I finally made it to the Atlantic Road, from which I then drove another 80 kilometers to find a roadside car park near Ørskog. As always, you can find the driving data on my website www.travelectric.net. Tomorrow will be another exciting day as I will drive the Trollstigen, the stunning, steep and twisty road which I'm really looking forward to. And with that, thank you for joining me again on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again on our next stage. You have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye bye.